Since the dawn of time, mankind has searched for a way to defend themselves from danger and defeat their foes. One of the first and most reliable weapons mankind discovered was the coveted stick, Unga Bunga. Later in time, humanity would evolve and use bigger sticks, adopting the saying, I Unga, therefore I Bunga. However, for this challenge, I wanted to get back to our roots as humans and use the stick. As a part of our remasters mod series, I was recommended and also saw the mysterious stick weapon. There isn't much to it, as the description says, it's a stick. The damage is pretty low, but it does have an S scaling with strength and doesn't scale with anything else. So I thought, let's beat the game with it. I asked my girlfriend for name ideas, and she had recommended Frisk from Undertale, so we went with that. I also made myself the Bandit class, as it had the highest strength, so I figured it'd make the most sense. I gave myself the stick at the start of the run, in order to use it for the entirety of the run, but I'll also show where you can get it legitimately later on. The initial damage was actually quite good, and it would eventually fall off later in the game, even if you had a lot of strength. The Asylum Demon went down way faster than I thought. I was expecting this to be similar to the later run in Dark Souls 2 that I did, but I was pleasantly surprised that it was much better. For the first part of the run, I would almost exclusively level strength in order to compensate for my damage. I found out that the L2 with the weapon throws an I'm sorry carving, which was not only funny, but it was very useful later on in the run.
I'm sorry.
5% pain, 50% pain, 100% reason to remember the name.
We did our usual depth skips here to get some Dark Souls 2 armor from the merchant. I wanted to use the Alva set for this run, but it was a bit too heavy for now, so I went with the Black Dragon set. I wanted to test to see if we could actually repost, as some of the other weapons I've used in the mod you couldn't actually repost with them, and thankfully we could repost with the stick, but the damage gets hindered severely for doing so, which made it more worth it to not repost most of the time. I grabbed the blue Tearstone ring since it was actually helpful in this mod. I went to the Undead Merchant who sells the stick, so that's how you actually get it normally.
Cheap bastard.
Taurus Demon was super easy with our current damage, so I was enjoying bonking all of the early game enemies with the stick. I went to go see if the stick could be upgraded, and if so, what materials we needed to upgrade the stick. And it turns out that it actually upgrades with Twinkling Titanite, and you can upgrade it. I happen to have a couple on me, so I upgraded it to +2.
Get yourself killed.
Then I headed towards the gargoyles. I also used the souls we got from Taurus Demon to power level strength as much as I could. I tried out the damage on the Tower Knight and the Channeler here, and it seemed kind of similar to the Drake Sword in terms of damage so far. The early game would be somewhat easy as a result. Our damage on the gargoyles was actually insane, to say the least. Honestly, it might have been better than the Drake Sword for this fight.
That's quite big.
First attempt, and it was very easy. We rang the first bell. I used the souls from the gargoyles to level up some health. I'm just kidding, of course we leveled up strength as far as we could. I think I hit the soft cap for a while. I bumped Lautrec, who foolishly thought that some steel Shotos could match the power of the stick. We headed down to Blighttown next. We did our super ultra secret mega skip. We fought Mildred, who didn't even stand a chance thanks to our damage, but those damn mosquitoes kept interfering with our fights, so that sucked. We grabbed the Chloranthy ring for extra stamina regen. Then Quelaag was up next. Our damage on Quelaag may seem lower, but this was actually really good damage on her for this point in the run, as she usually takes much less damage with other weapons that you would have at this point. We got her first try. We rang the second bell. I headed over to Ceaseless Discharge here since I wanted to get some extra souls to level up our strength more. We used our Ceaseless Discharge cheese, although we had good damage on Ceaseless regardless, so we probably didn't need it. With that, we had 40k souls to dump into strength, but I actually ended up using it for health and stamina here since our returns on damage for leveling strength was getting kind of low and not really worth that anymore. I used the stick's unmatched toughness to overfarm the traps in Sen's Fortress. When we got to Iron Golem, I saw our damage was a bit low, so I was preparing for a long fight, and then when the Iron Golem ended up toppling, he ended up falling off of the edge and instantly got defeated, so that was pretty nice. We headed to Anor Londo. We cleared the shortcut. I was under heavy fire from Silver Knights, but thanks to my stick's awesome power, we managed to assert dominance over these archers. I went to the big blacksmith bro, and after popping some souls, I went and bought enough Twinkling Titanite to upgrade our stick to +3. With that, it was ONS time.
Prepare for trouble!
Make it double.
Who would win? 2 knightly boys or stick? They actually got me a couple times, so I adjusted my strategy to go after Smell first. I could stagger him pretty easily with a stick, which was also a nice feature for the weapon. Then, when it was just Ornstein, we would just bait out his backstep attack, and then we would hit him twice until he went down. Once they were down, I headed up to the big lady, and then I used the I'm sorry move to take her out, which I didn't think would actually work. Next was Gwendolyn, who went down first try. Our damage was still pretty good at this point, so Gwendolyn wasn't much of an issue. Just a lot of running, pretty much. I then went to go try and do Rhea's questline, so I talked to her at Firelink. I then went back to Capra Demon, which since he was an early game boss, he went down quickly, and on our first try, like most bosses at this point. On my way to the depths, I used our new carving tech to aggro this butcher. Next up was Gaping Dragon. Again, he was an early game boss, so we really had good damage on him as well. I went to take his tail off for no reason other than I wanted to, and I got to see him try to use his newly formed nub immediately after. I went back to Firelink to place the Lord Vessel, then we headed down to the Catacombs. I speedruned my way through it to Vamos for another upgrade on our stick, so we got to +4 for now. The hardest boss in the game was next, and he put up quite a challenge. After about 1,000 attempts, I finally got him. Harder than Consort Were Dawn, for real. Please nerf. We got tricked by patches. I also continued Rhea's quest here by taking out the hollow clerics and stuff. Leroy Jenkins got bullied here as he kept trying to out-heal my damage, which put us in a constant loop of me hitting him, running out of stamina, and then him running away and healing, until eventually I got him. Nita was annoying, but not because he was hard. It was due to his spooky scaries as always. I didn't bother to see if I could infuse the stick, but maybe I could have, and made this a lot easier by making my stick a divine weapon. He went down first try though, so it wasn't too bad overall. I then went to go save Rhea by taking out Petrus since he's a fake cleric and betrays her. The Painted World was my next objective, so we went to go fight the Stray Demon. It took a minute as our damage was starting to fall off a bit, but he wasn't too hard since most of his attacks would let us get 2 to 3 heavy attacks in every time. We got him first try, of course. We styled on this Black Knight really quick. We grabbed the Peculiar Doll. Then I entered the Painted World. There I upgraded my stick to +5 and I maxed it out, and our strength had pretty much reached the hard cap, so our damage gains were only about 1 or 2 for multiple levels at this point. So we had reached the maximum damage essentially. I took out the Undead Dragon. I had a comment on my last Dark Souls video which reminded me to jump attack the dragon butt in order to skip everything, and it actually worked, so glad the mod didn't patch this. So we skipped the whole Painted World and went to Priscilla right away. We had good damage on Priscilla, so she went down pretty quickly after she bullied me for a little while with her scythe. Then we dipped out of the painting. Next we headed towards Bed of Chaos, so Demon Fire Sage was next, and it's basically the same exact fight as Stray Demon, so not much to see here. Then Demon Centipede was next, and he was being very annoying by constantly jumping around, and he also managed to grab me, which I don't think I've ever been grabbed by him before. Good riddance. I took out the Chaos Witch and Kirk very quickly thanks to the stick's awesome stagger potential. Bed of Chaos was next, and I just used the quit out method to take out the hearts, and then I got the bug in the middle without having to reset at the bonfire each time. So first try this time, but always hate this boss.
One more thing, Eugene, give me that. If I ever find one of these lying around again, I swear to fucking God!
Next up was Fake Seath. I took out the Crystal Warrior pretty easily, then I just accepted my fate until Seath was done messing around. Real Seath was next, and we had very good damage against him, so he went down extremely quickly. He did almost take me out a couple times with his constant curse crystals he spammed during the fight, but it wasn't bad. We got him first try. Next was the DLC, so we freed Dust, we got the pendant, and entered the DLC. Manus must have wanted the stick weapon for himself and snatched us up. Sanctuary Guardian was annoying as always, but he didn't have a ton of health, so we did insane damage on him. We really only needed a couple of openings to take him down. We also took off his tail for revenge. Top 3 most annoying enemies in the game for sure. Artorias was next. He was very annoying since he kept dodge rolling backwards every time I would go in for an attack. We also didn't have a ton of damage against him, so the fight dragged out for a while. I think it was mainly because the stick just didn't have a ton of range, so I couldn't punish most of his attacks. I did have stagger potential to keep him from buffing though. He went down first try. Calamite was next. Calamite took us a few attempts, and I actually got the footage this time. Our damage was okay on him, but honestly the worst part was his Calamity effect attack, as it just has an ear-piercing effect to it. He wasn't too bad, and we got him after a couple tries. I took out my boy Chester. This guy tried to jump scare me. I saved Sif. Manus I got on my first try, but it was just barely. Manus has so much health, so our damage was on the low side. We had ended up using a lot of humanities to get through this fight. Also, I don't really use the pendant anymore to dodge his dark attacks, as most of the time I can just dodge or tank them.
10% pain, 20% pain, 15% concentrated power of pain.
Goodbye, Manus. I went to go get another Firekeeper soul from the lady that gets mad at you for taking out Guinevere.
This man is a threat.
Moonlight Butterfly was extra annoying this time around, and took forever to come down. I almost didn't get the butterfly when it came down first, as our damage was good, but our stamina bar wasn't quite long enough to take him out almost immediately. We made it work though. We bullied the Forest Hunters with the stick and its carving power. Next was Sif, who remembered us from the DLC, and I also realized you could buff the stick here. I don't know why I didn't try it sooner. I guess I just assumed that you couldn't buff it like a lot of the other weapons I added in the mod. Sif went down first try. The Crestfallen Knight styled on me, but we took him down. We got the key to the seal, and we drained the ruins. 4 kings was actually tough this time around. My damage was low enough that most of the time I would have about 2 kings spawned at all times, which forced me to play more carefully as well as trying to rush the kings down as fast as possible in order to prevent myself from getting ganked. They also stole a lot of my humanity. I got him first try though. Framp, the Glizzy Gladiator, took us down one more time. We offered their souls as I believe all we had left was Gwyn. Gwyn was also being a pain as my damage was okay, but he kept doing moves that were harder to parry. Eventually, after a few attempts, I had a good run where he played nice and he let me parry him a bunch until he was down. My girlfriend suggested I do the dark ending since I was defeating stuff in an Undertale that usually means you're doing the bad ending, so we went with that. This run was fun overall, but the difficulty spiked towards the end for sure, as we just capped out our damage pretty early on with no real way to increase it. It can still be a powerful weapon though. With that, I hope you enjoyed. I have some more Souls runs with this mod coming soon, as well as some other Souls games and some other games just in general. Anyways, I appreciate all your support as always, and I want to say thank you to everyone. With that, I hope you have a good rest of your day, night, evening, whatever time it is wherever you're watching this, and take it easy, guys.
Our Lord hath returned.